Hi everybody, it is Thursday, May 7th. We are getting ready to go through the knowledge you're going to need to do your assignment for today. As you see, our star is on the calendar. Your discriminant assignment is due today. And then all we have left for tomorrow is your exit ticket. So be sure to pop into Zoom if you have questions. Otherwise, we'll take a look at that assignment at the end after we talk through some notes. So let's talk about what in the world this discriminant thing is that we are talking about. First of all, yesterday we talked about how we have information like our axis of symmetry, we have our vertex, and that's great. But if we're actually going to draw these parabolas, we also need at least 2 more points, and we need those solutions, and we need to know what those solutions are so we can draw a better and more accurate graph. Before we go through and fill out the whole table and plug and chug all that information, we can use this discriminant, which is a formula, to help us determine how many solutions we're going to have. So we can even draw a better sketch before we have to fill out the table, before we do anything like that, so we know how many solutions are in our graph. So we're going to go ahead and use this formula, which is D, our discriminant, equals B squared minus 4AC, to determine how many solutions, how many times our parabola crosses that x-axis. If our discriminant is bigger than 0, we're going to have 2 solutions. If it is equal to 0, we have 1 solution. And if it is less than 0, we have 0 solutions. So we're going to look at least these 2 examples, but I think we'll go through a few more just to make sure you're all set, because your assignment asks you to practice this discriminant equation so that you can figure out how many solutions exist for a given equation. So let's go through and let's practice some. The first thing that we need to remind ourselves about is our A, B, and C values in our equations. The A value, remember, is represented by our very first number. Our B is represented by our second number, and our C is represented by our third number. Okay, so if we are doing B squared in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and keep writing in red. Let's just make sure it's thin enough. So we are going to do B squared minus 4AC. So my B is a 5, so I'm going to do 5 squared minus 4 times my A value. It looks invisible, but remember that number 1 is still there, times my 1, and my C is a 4. So I'm going to go ahead, use my order of operations, and plug this into my calculator. I'm going to have 25 minus 16, which is going to give me 9. So in this situation, my discriminant is bigger than 0. Here, my discriminant is bigger than 0. So I have 2 solutions. What does that mean? That means that my parabola crosses the x-axis 2 times. Now this discriminant doesn't tell me where it crosses the x-axis, it just tells me how many times. Okay, let's do the same thing with number 8. Y equals x squared minus 3x plus 10. So we know my B is a negative 3. So I have negative 3, oops. I'm going to remember my parentheses here because we know that can change our answers. Negative 3 squared. So my B squared minus my 4. My A value is a 1 again. And my C is a 10. Keeping all those parentheses straight. Now, order of operations, sorry about that funky little 0. I'm going to get 9. And now I have minus 4 times 1 times 10 is going to give me 9 minus 40. Oops. If you need to, please, please, please don't be afraid to pull up a calculator on your phone. Don't be afraid to pull up a calculator on your computer, because you don't want to make a silly mistake that gets your answer wrong here. So we have negative 31 and negative 31. My discriminant is now negative 31 is less than 0. So in this situation, I have 0 solutions. Okay, which means this graph does not actually cross my x-axis. Okay, so all we're doing is we're plugging those values in and we're using this little cheat sheet to determine the number of solutions. Remember let me make it a little bit smaller. When we're talking number of solutions, we are talking about the number of times that the parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay, that's what we're looking for here. This discriminant is a bit of a cheat sheet. It's a way for us to do that calculation faster, because if you saw yesterday's video, you saw it takes a really long time to fill in those tables because we got to bring in that axis of symmetry calculation, and we don't want to have to do all that if we don't have to. So let's quickly look at your assignment that is due on Thursday. That is today. If you have not already started, that is okay. You only have 6 problems to take a look at. Make sure you copy these problems down. This is also in the Google Drive for you. Make sure you do the work. Show me your work. Don't just give me the solution and then take a picture and email me your answers when you're done. This is the last assignment for this week. If you do well, remember the exit ticket is just an opportunity for you to make up points, so you do not have to worry about that. But if you are all set after this assignment, have a great rest of your week. Otherwise, I will see you on Zoom today and tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.